Hi, welcome to our channel. We're the Simple Teachers.
Today we're going to help you understand teaching and practice in the Gradual Release Model. Teaching and practice look very different throughout that Gradual Release Model. So hopefully today's video helps you understand.
So the Gradual Release Model, just to recap that, we've talked about that in a few different videos. So it includes activating background knowledge, I do, we do, you do together, and you do alone, and then usually a closure of some sort.
Yeah.
And all of those steps, teaching and practice, explicit teaching and practice, look different. So we're going to kind of talk about how those are different. Let's start with activate background knowledge.
Yeah, there's a couple ways we can activate background knowledge. Sometimes we're activating something they already know, or sometimes you're building that background knowledge.
Correct. Yeah. And when we're activating something they already know, we really don't want to teach what we're going to teach. We don't want to even really bring it up. We want to think about something that we know that links directly to where we're headed. So we're bringing up the schemata, the knowledge they already have that they're going to need. If we're building, we're going to do the same thing. We're building on what they need for what we're going to teach, but we are not teaching the lesson that we're going to go into. So it's not teaching yet. And
but it's something they need.
Yep, they need it
to be successful in your lesson.
Usually it looks like, let's think about what we talked about yesterday, or have you ever had this happen to you? Or it's kind of like a thinking process. What are some of the things that you'll use for activating? Like,
I'll say, remember when we learned the sound spelling for oi yesterday?
Yeah.
Today we're going to learn another sound spelling for oi. Let's begin.
Yeah, exactly.
Or something.
Short, simple. Just sort. I use our schemata. Egg crate. We're just going to open the egg crate.
Yeah.
That's all you're doing. Opening that up. Then the next step, we move into I do. Now this is the explicit teaching part. This is the really critical piece to your instruction.
Yes.
This is where you're going to do your best. And this, I love, you said this another day in another video, that for the first year of teaching, you wrote everything that you were going to say.
Yeah.
And
because I knew that I do is critical. I needed to be explicit and clear, and I need to model my thinking. So I had to think about what I'm trying to teach them, how to think on their own. I've got to make sure I'm super clear in my teacher talk of how I'm thinking to do whatever it is we're doing.
Yeah, because really you're teaching them how to do the thinking of whatever it is you're giving them. Whatever you're gradually releasing to them.
Yeah. So during the I do, I'm modeling the thinking. The students aren't doing the thinking yet. They're watching the expert thinker so they can become an expert thinker is kind of what I like to view. I am trying to teach them to be expert thinkers. So I've got to show them what an expert thinker thinks like.
I love that.
And so they aren't doing the thinking yet. So I can't pose them a question because the minute I do, they have to think. But I can model and I can show them and I can use the language I'm thinking to do the thinking. They can be copying me. In some lessons, they're doing exactly what I'm doing, but they're not thinking how to do it yet. They are watching how I think.
Yeah. So you can keep them engaged.
Yeah.
They can be writing. They can be repeating what you're saying, responding in repeating. But you are not passing off that thinking load yet.
No.
So there's a lot of explicit teaching going on, but no practice for the students at this point in the lesson.
Exactly.
So your formative assessment that you would use is just, are we engaged? Are we there? Are we together? Am I catching the fringes and making sure that everybody's with me and hanging with this lesson at this point? And is my pacing on point?
Yeah, because if they're not watching, if they're not attentive, they missed out on all of the modeling of the expert thinking, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you really want this portion of your lesson to be pretty fast.
It should be short, because think of lecture-based entire lesson. I mean, you zone out through the thing. And especially when we're teaching children, you've got to be fast. Their attention spans are plus or minus to their age. So get it within that window, or else you'll lose them. Yeah.
They're gone. All right. So after activate background knowledge, the explicit teaching, and I do, we're moving into we do. So now we're ready to bring them in to practice the thinking. However, it's very supported. It's not, I call it a high stakes practice. We're not calling on one kid. We're not putting them out and being like, hey, can you do this yet? No. They haven't had a chance to try anything yet. It's super low key, very supported. Maybe a choral response. Maybe, let's just whisper it together. Something very easy. It's not scary. We're just going to practice it all together. We do. Sometimes it's the hardest to come up with ideas.
And you're still modeling at that point, and the students and you are supporting each other. So I often will say, who would like to share their thinking during this time? And then I'm not calling anyone out. Those that feel they're ready, they share. And most of the time it's your high flyers anyways. They're ready to do the thinking on their own. And so we're supporting each other in that point. But I'm not, all right, let's see if you know it. It's not that you do portion yet.
Yeah, because that feels like an assessment. So then I just jump clear to the bottom of the lesson where I am assessing a single child on something that they haven't even had a chance to practice yet.
Yeah.
So we don't want to do that. So we do. And we do is some modeling still and a little bit of practice, but the practice is really, it's low key, low pressure.
Yeah.
Not high stakes. Keep it the whole class, choral, as low stakes as you can. Then we move to they do together. So now we're kind of removing ourselves a little bit. Maybe they're going to be the models for each other with the thinking.
This is where having procedures for buddies, for teamwork is critical, because they need to know how to work together or it'll flop.
Yep. So you already have taught those things.
Yep.
We know how to have a discussion. We know how to listen to each other and take turns. Your formative assessment at we do and they do together lets you know, do I need to go back to a more supported, everybody's chorally responding? Are we okay to be in buddy responding? Do I stay here for a while? Do I need more modeling from me? Your formative assessment lets you know, how are we doing? Are we ready to pull away that gradual release, those scaffolds yet? Yeah. It lets you know where they're at.
We have to be fluid or flexible. We can't just be, I do, we do, you do together. We have to know when it's appropriate to move around in that land.
Yeah, back and forth if necessary.
It's not about just getting done with your lesson. We are teaching students how to think. And we don't know what that looks like when we're doing it.
Yeah.
We can have a lesson plan written out and it might not go like planned, right?
Yeah, we might do I do and we stay in we do all the way to the end.
Exactly.
You're like, dang it, I had such a great independent built in. Well, we never got there, but hey, that's okay.
That's good teaching.
Yes. All right, so we do, you do together. Formative assessment lets me know when I can go back and forth or leave those areas where practice and teach becomes more even.
Yeah.
And then the you do alone. This is the point where I like to say that if you didn't do a good enough job in the areas above, if you weren't explicit enough, you will know because your students won't be able to do what you taught them independently. So it doesn't take long to look around your classroom and see the students not being successful to know that, oh dear, I didn't do so hot there.
Teacher frustration hits me when I know I've jumped to you do too quickly. I become a little frustrated and I'm like, hey, hold on, take a breath. I move to you do too quickly. And so if you're feeling frustrated of your students not performing well, they're not ready for you do. So back up, back up in that gradual release, stick in those other areas for longer until they're ready for you do.
Yeah. And that's okay. We don't want to hand off that independent practice too soon.
Yep.
And make sure also that you're aligning your practice. The practice should be of the same thing. Don't change your task that you have the students do. So
the you do assignment should not be different from what you just taught. It should naturally align.
Exactly.
It shouldn't be something completely different. That would not make sense. That is not what you just taught them to do, to think.
And we're teaching the thinking. We're handing off the thinking. So we don't become tasking teachers. We want to be thinking teachers. We want our students to be thinking students and teaching them the thinking. Lessons in comprehension. So the thinking, they're those strategies. We're teaching them those thinking strategies. In phonics, we're teaching them those decoding strategies. So we're handing off the thinking of those things.
That's like my favorite role as a teacher. I am a teacher to teach students how to think. Like, that's my favorite thing about teaching. I am teaching them how to think, and we all think so differently.
Yeah.
And it's amazing what these children can think. It is so cool.
Yeah. And watch the light bulb come on.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
it's
you can
awesome.
see it.
Yep.
It's
great.
It is cool. All right. After you've made it through all of those, I do, we do, you do together, you do alone, you're at closure. Closure often is something that usually is like, okay, put it away, pull out your math books.
We got to move on. Hurry.
Yeah. We're out of time. Oh shoot, it's time for recess. I like to think of closure as, golly, you just spent all that time. Tie a little bow and have a little bow on top of that package. But it should be the students letting you know now what they can do. Let them demonstrate to you what they learned. Let them share what they've done. Let them let you know now what they can think. And it, again, doesn't have to be a big, long deal.
Yeah. Which that ties right into the you do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but let's say they're not ready for the you do. How would you do the closure?
Well, they can share what they've done in we do or you do together. Any point we get to, they can share what they have learned.
And then the teacher can wrap it up.
Yep.
And close the lesson.
Yeah. And even maybe talk about where we're going to take it tomorrow. Well, tomorrow we're going to practice some more and we're going to get to be able to do this independently.
That's a great example of being explicit. You ended your lesson with what you started with what you're going to be learning today.
Yeah.
And you wrap it up with what you learned.
Yes.
So,
just
like good writing, you say what you're going to say and you close with what you said.
Yeah, exactly. So explicit teaching, we take it through the gradual release of responsibility. And when we do this and we do it well, we're going to have more of our students learning what we taught, and they're going to learn it at a higher proficiency. They're going to get it. It's going to be great.
Yeah. And they'll know what they are even doing because you are so explicit. Anyone could ask them, what are you doing today?
Yeah.
What are you doing right now? Oh, we're doing this.
Yeah.
So they'll know what they're doing. Just knowing what you're doing makes a huge impact.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So be clear, be explicit, gradual release model. Know when you're teaching and know when it's appropriate to give practice, and at what point we hand that off and at what point we maybe hold back and model some more.
Yep, it's different throughout the whole gradual release.
Yep.
Well, thanks for watching this video. Hopefully we clarified or maybe validated some things you're doing well. So keep it up, keep watching our videos. Make sure you like this video, share it with your teacher friends, check us out on Facebook or Instagram, and leave a comment if you have any questions. Thanks for watching this video again. Simply teach.